I wanted to kind of touch on that point that you made about plants attracting the predators of its predators. And I remember in my undergrad, I took some ecology course, and the example used was a specific plant will do that when aphids attack it. And so it'll, when an aphid is eating it, it'll make a smell or whatever it is that attracts these wasps, and then that eats the aphid. And I just read somewhere, I think, that now it seems to be shown, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that if there's a nearby plant that isn't being attacked by aphids, it will actually start to emit those defense chemicals in advance of an attack, meaning that the plant that is being attacked is actually pre-warning the plants around it to say, hey, get ready for war here.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. So that one, I'll tell that story. It has a long story in ecology. There's a couple papers in the early 80s that were giving hints that attacked plants were giving information to unattacked plants, and these unattacked plants were changing their chemistry. They were preparing to be attacked. And that got picked up in the public media, not surprisingly, and they immediately called it talking trees. And it was the first evidence that plants actually had airborne communication with other plants in a potentially adaptive way. Unfortunately, the underlying science was not very strong. There were some classical problems in design, and a couple very senior people in the field were very negative about these papers to the point that they shut down this field of research for about 20 years. And so nobody would touch it because of the negative response in the culture of the scientific culture. And there was no plant biology that could explain it. Nobody had any idea how it could happen. And so it didn't make sense. The senior people said it doesn't happen, and the physiologists can't explain how it could happen. In 2000, there's the next real study, so about 20 years later, showing this very conclusively in a forested system, and there's been tons left. It's to the point now that it's normal for plants to communicate in the air, not an exception. That is, and tomato does it, cotton does it, tobacco does it. Tons of common crop plants do this all the time. And there's also that eavesdropping is happening above ground as well. So other species are tapping in to the signal and then changing their own defensive chemistry.
Isn't this what's happening in Jasper, or like how the pine trees are dealing with the pine beetles? I've heard signaling to their, like, some of the mother plants are signaling to their offspring to strike up their defenses. Like I don't know. I heard something from the U of A come out about that, but.
Yep, absolutely. There's signaling going on in the pine beetle attack. There's also signaling among the beetles, and so it's not just the plants are protecting themselves. And where one of the areas that plant biology has really moved into in this last decade is realizing that above and below ground, it's a world of communication in plants. Plants are talking, not using words, but using chemicals to everything, to microbes, to herbivores, the things that eat them, to predators, even to the predators of the predators. And it's extremely complex. And this is actually a big part of my class that I'm teaching right now is I walk through the basics of communication, which came from radio communication and the emitter and the having a media of air. And it's easy to see how there's no reason plants shouldn't fall in this. All you need is some medium, such as air, and some chemical that can be produced and a receptor that can bind it. If you have that can be communication. It doesn't take magic. It's crazy, but it's not even complicated biology.